Good day, world. Welcome to Explain Like I'm Five, BSV Blockchain. I'm delighted to be here today with someone very special, a builder of software development kits, specifically for the STAS token protocol. So, all the developers out there all around the world, tune in as we have as our guest today an adventurous, intrepid builder named Cain. Welcome, Cain, to the conversation today.
Thank you. Thanks, Rory. Pleasure to be here on the call. So I hope to,
Yes,
yeah, I hope to provide some insights to STAS tokens and maybe some other things in general.
for sure. Yes, we can do that. And I went to stastoken.com. And for anyone out there who's new to STAS token, I'll spell it out for you. That is STAS token.com. And on the website, it was impressive to see it saying STAS token is not just a token for a specific use case. It is the technology that will work for all use cases. Wow. So, round of applause. Really. Bravo. And Kane, I wonder, how did you get involved here as a builder of the software development kits or SDKs for STAS token, as well as the main builder integrating the STAS tokens with wallets by the real world use cases? So, how did you get involved in all of this?
Um, yeah. So first of all, I wouldn't say I'm one of the builders that integrates STAS tokens into wallets. Um, we do that through Realizia, which is one of the Vaionex products. But when I first started back in 2015, I got into blockchain. It was always about utility for me. I sort of knew that the technology was going to reduce frictions, um, between trust for transactions, and I recognize that it could be disruptive for payments, but also maybe other industries. And as the years progressed, I sort of realized that the technology couldn't really be harnessed well unless there was a blockchain that could scale and provide a cheap enough way to utilize the blockchain that made the benefits economical. So I guess leading into I'd say about 2019, I started diving into um, developing my own web applications, slowly learning some new things. And then into 2021, I started working at Vaionex, and we use STAS as our main token protocol on BSV through Vaionex and Realizio. So with that, I had the privilege of working alongside the STAS token engineers that were building the scripts themselves. And so I was in their early days, worked with some of the guys or alongside some of the people from Tal who built the first SDK, helped with some debugging there, and really just started to understand how they worked. And from there, I just kept progressing. And as new STAS scripts came out, we needed a new SDK for that. So, I developed the SDK to handle all of the new templates and provided some functionality for that. So that's the sort of the general scope of where it all sort of came together.
Thank you. And I must let the audience know your full name. That is Cain Nussdorfer. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Nussdorfer. What a cool name. So, what's the background of your name?
It's German. So my grandmother's Italian and my grandfather's German. They immigrated to Australia in the 1950s. Um,
Really?
yeah.
That's amazing. I love those stories. My grandparents immigrated to America in the 1950s,
All
and
right.
they also had potential to go to Australia. So it's just amazing the way people moved in the 1950s. They really immigrated a lot
Yeah,
to Australia, the US, Canada. So, wow. And so
yeah.
then
I
what was,
remember I
yeah.
remember hearing stories from my grandparents about they had a choice where they could go, and I think they mentioned Canada was one place as well. So but lucky enough they chose Australia, then sort of that's why I exist today. So, but it is
Right.
amazing. It is amazing how many things have to happen for us all to exist, right? Have to happen in a specific way.
Exactly. And I mean, your Italian grandmother and German grandfather, I bet they have an
Yes,
amazing story too.
yes, yes,
Yeah. So there you are today in New South Wales, Australia, Bateman's Bay, I
yes.
understand. And you have a very interesting hobby. It said on your profile that you like free diving.
Yeah, I moved down to Batemans Bay from Sydney a while ago now, maybe about 18 years ago, and it's a coastal sort of coastal country town in a way, but it's a 4 hours drive from Sydney, south of Sydney. Quite a nice little town, but it's right on the ocean. So um, I as a hobby, I started to learn how to do spearfishing, and fell in love with that. Then I started getting into freediving and did some freediving courses and learned all the aspects around breath hold and the anatomy of that. And yeah, I quite enjoy it down here. It's got some beautiful coastline and some great diving spots. Um, I don't do it as much as I used to, but I still enjoy it when I do.
Mm. Yeah. And then do you have on goggles you can see under the water while you're diving down, holding your breath?
Yeah, correct. So you there's the gear you wear is you wear as lightweight as possible in terms of your gear. Then you wear a weight belt to sort of keep you at the right level of buoyancy. And the breath holds. It's all about the breath hold and relaxing. It's as part of the courses I did, you learn how to do that and how to. It's all mental in a way.
Right.
And when I'm doing the courses, you do what they call static breath holds, where you're just training on the breath and not really moving. But from the courses, I was able to hold my breath for 5 minutes, which was one of my sort of personal best breath holds
Mm.
during the course. So 5 minutes is such a long time, but it's different when you're moving. When you're moving, you're burning oxygen. When you're not moving, you're actually you're conserving your oxygen. So you can hold your breath for longer. So when I'm free diving, I don't generally hold my breath for 5 minutes, um, but can still be quite comfortable diving down to 20 meters and just enjoying the space down there before coming back up later. So
Wow, that is so special. And it's very funny because I did meet Bernhard from Chenti. The
yes,
Chenti has a stable coin that is backed by a Swiss bank, and that is built on the STAS token protocol. And he too has a really amazing hobby, and that is flying. He's a free glider, I think they call it, where he has some wings and he gets into the contraption and hikes up the mountain and then takes off and flies. So there he is,
right.
high in the sky, and there you are, deep in the ocean.
I
That's so
think
beautiful.
I think those type of activities there, um, that your all your senses are heightened when you're doing these type of adrenaline type activities, and I think it definitely makes you sort of feel like you're not having a normal day, right, when you're doing these things. So it makes you feel like maybe you're living that little bit more. That's sort of how I feel
Yes.
anyway when I do it. So um
Right. Carpe diem. Seize the day. That is fabulous. Well, thank you for sharing. And anyone interested in that, you can look it up and learn and then follow the examples of our intrepid builders here in the Bitcoin SV ecosystem. Really leading edge folks. So thank you for that background. And then also, I'd love to ask about where you are. You're in Bateman's Bay, and what are some typical snacks or that people should have when they go to visit your hometown?
Uh, Bateman's Bay, it's actually very famous for its oysters. So you might even actually find oysters from Bateman's Bay in the US. Um, I
Oh,
actually know some people who are oyster farmers, and they actually ship their oysters overseas. That is probably what it's well known for.
mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, that sounds delicious and very romantic. Yeah, so let's relate it back to your business, which is the work that you're doing there with the STAS token protocol. On the website and in a lot of the literature put out there, I love what it says about how it's all based on the human imagination. Whatever we can imagine, we can do, enabled by the STAS token protocol on BSV blockchain. So, could you imagine how could the Bateman's Bay oysters make use of STAS token, just as a hypothetical?
Ah, I guess you could create a token that allows you to prove authenticity of the oysters so that they came from a specific region, because that's what people are paying the good money for. In the end, they're paying for the right source of the oysters. So I guess that would be a good way to do that. You can do that with the stars tokens. Specifically, we have what we call an appendable token, where you can update entries on the token itself, which is immutably kept there through transactions. And that could work as a way to prove supply chain of the oysters, I guess. So that would be a good use case.
Yeah, thank you. And with STAS token, I know that I was so happy when I met you back at the London Blockchain Conference in 2023.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was so exciting. We were there on the third floor, I think, and I was trying to understand what you were doing and likened it to plates at a buffet. You can take a plate and then you put what you want at the buffet on the plate, and then you can pass that plate to your family and say, "Here you are. There's your plate. I made you a plate." And in this way, you can have a cookout with all the plates, and that the STOS token is that mobile unit that you can add things onto and then use and even trade and exchange. And today I was thinking about kind of like an accordion file notepad where you have the metadata inside the token, and it's almost like if you pull out that little post-it note accordion file, it has all the little papers stuck together and there's a trail of them. You can see what came first and the order of it all. So are those good analogies, or tell us more about this, Cain, please, in a visual aspect?
Yeah, I guess stars tokens, just consider them almost like native tokens to the blockchain, but they encapsulate satoshis, right? So, for example, if you're sending a satoshi over the blockchain, it's just a satoshi. But once you put it into a stars script, it is locked in that script, which means that you can't accidentally spend it in an incorrect way. Um, so when you mentioned the post-it notes and things like that, that is really akin to one of the stars tokens, like the appendable token, which is actually the name of it is star 789. That's what we've called it. But you can add more and more entries to this one token, which could actually work as post-it notes, for example. And you could encrypt your own data on there. And if you ever needed to reference back to it, you could check the transactions. But then you could also provide a proof. You could hash the data, then prove that this was entered at a specific date because the blockchain provides the timestamping. Um, but with tokens, a lot of the token protocols, they do work, they can work in similar ways, right? I guess the main difference with stars tokens is that I mentioned that the Satoshis are encapsulated into a smart contract. And that smart contract really defines what you can do with that Satoshi from then on out. So you might be able to, send the token to someone else, or you might be able to do an atomic swap with that token, which means you can trade a token for potentially another token, or trade a token for some Satoshis. And atomic swap is basically an all or nothing type event where you're going to have two parties swap an item between each other, but it's going to happen at exactly the same time. And that's what makes, it takes out obviously the middleman when it comes to trading, for example. But other token protocols also have these type of functionality. But in general, yeah, there's the encapsulation of the Satoshis is key, and it really hardens what your token is, which means that you cannot accidentally burn your token by accidentally spending it or accidentally combining it with something else, because the set rules in the STAS tokens define define the functions.
So if we were using a Relayer wallet
Yes.
and we had our STAS tokens, and let's say I wanted to use them, maybe it would be like a gift card for Slictionary, let's say. So I bought a gift card for Slictionary and gave that to a friend. Let's say I sent that to Bridget, who was our guest last week on ELI5. Then, if she went to use that gift card to Slictionary that was within the STAS token on hand cash buying a Champion of Otherworldly Magic card, it would immediately pop up and say, error. Is that right?
Um, Not necessarily. I guess there is potential there for, trading between different protocols. There's a bit of there's a way to do that, but it is possible to do that. So
Ah, okay.
I wouldn't consider it a completely sort of closed token protocol where that's all you can only sort of limit it to a certain things. But in regards to functionality, there is a set amount of things you can do with the tokens. So, and it really comes down to use case. But that is also why there's different templates. Different templates give you different functionality. So you just sort of pick based on your business idea, you pick what you want. And if it fulfills those or ticks all your boxes, then that is the tokens template you would use.
Ah, okay. And then what are some of the templates that you've made already? What are they for?
Uh, well, they can be used for multiple things. You mentioned, Senti, the stable coin. So they currently use the STAS, what we call the STAS 20 token, and that they use a bank guaranteed stable coin with that. So they can, they have the Swiss franc, the digital Swiss franc. Then they have applications. They have merchants, and people can purchase goods and services through their application, through their array of merchants that provide that. So, I mean, that's just one example, but it really comes down to imagination, what you can build with these things. I wouldn't, pick a stable coin as the only way to go, but obviously, when we're talking about tokenization, we could think of many different things.
Indeed, we can. And that's what we've been exploring these weeks on Explain Like I'm Five, BSV Blockchain Xspaces, is the concept and the infrastructure of tokenization. So that's why we're privileged to have you here today to dive deep into the STAS token. Now, just the other day, I happened to be perusing the internet and I watched a video of some folks that were, I would say, fear mongering over the concept of tokenization. They were saying how if you tokenize nature, then this will be a really corrupt thing. And have you ever heard of this before? The kind of uh, fear, the concept of fear with tokenization, and do you think any of that is relevant, or is it totally bogus?
Um, I guess tokenization of everything is, people talk about it, but being realistic is that it's only really viable if it's economical, right? There's no point in just tokenizing something for the sake of it. It doesn't really achieve anything in that sense. But if there's benefits behind tokenizing something, then that's where you'll see the use cases grow, I suspect.
Yes, and you are building out for the future. Is that right? Maybe the use cases that we have so far are slim, but you have a much grander vision. Is that the case?
Yeah, I really think is where you can take friction out is the key. So where you need a multiple operations to process the parts that the blockchain can replace, um, that is where you can get the most benefits. And whether that means you take away the friction, you save costs, it really comes down to efficiency in the end. Um, so yeah, sure, I can see that the future is going to be a lot of things will be tokenized, but not. I don't think everything will be. I don't think there should be a fear about that in particular. You know, things being tokenized just means that you have more, transparency, accountability, and immutability, which is all good things in a way. But as I mentioned, I would only suspect that things get tokenized if there is some sort of benefit there to do so. Um, yeah, so I guess that's sort of my take on it. Oh, Rory, I think you're on mute.
Oh, thank you, Cain. Yes, I was talking away there. Thank you, Cain. Yeah,
That's
boy, that
okay.
was
Sorry.
the birds were enjoying that one. Well, yeah, as I was saying, the in the United States, we've had a lot of legislators that have shown interest in what they call the crypto scene. And they are, in many cases, very opposed to a central bank digital currency, CBDCs. And this is also something I've heard from many fellows in the space of Bitcoin and Bitcoin SV. Sometimes people say, oh, CBDCs, they are really the worst thing ever. And then I learned with Jerry David Chan about a year ago about how the BSV blockchain enables both privacy and transparency. So, therefore, it's not necessarily the end of the world to have a CBDC. It made me feel more open minded to that topic. However, that's not the case with many legislators. They say, we will never allow a CBDC. And then in the same breath, they're all gung ho for stablecoins. So I wonder, what is the difference? Can you shed some light and share your insight as well, Cain, please?
um, so my take on that would be stable coins are more for they're built for businesses, and they come out from businesses to create some sort of efficiency model around payments. But then, if we talk about CBDCs, this people are scared about that a little bit because it means that a bit more control comes over money, because you can add some sort of restrictions on how the money can be used, for example. But as with everything, you sort of take things on both sides. So there are also benefits um, to having a CBDC as well. So while on one hand, maybe people feel that they're losing a bit of their their freedom with their money, but then on the other hand, the benefits could be that the money is distributed in a more efficient manner, in a more transparent manner, and in a more accountable manner, which I argue is actually one of the bigger benefits to have over a potential sacrifice of a bit of control of your money. But I think that as long as there are options for people to have their um, own ways to transfer value, so not only through CBDCs, but maybe they say, I want to have control, so they have another method where they can move money around, then it sort of allows everyone to be flexible in a way. If everyone was strictly only allowed to be on CBDCs, then that may be a different story. But I don't think that's the case. I think there's, blockchain sort of allows things to be a lot more open in a way. Even if CBDCs are run in a closed system, there are probably already, as you can already see, there's already open systems that are running stablecoins now. So I think you just take from both ends, and that's it creates a sort of still you still get all the benefits. And if you don't want to opt in, you can sort of opt out to do something else, right? So
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good point. So we have the freedom of choice. We could use Bitcoin, we could use the CBDC, we could use barter, we could use, who knows, all sorts, stable coins. So you're saying
yeah.
the stable coin would not be the currency, it would be for a company.
No, well, stablecoins can be. I mean, we've already got stablecoins out in the crypto ecosystem, and there's some on BSV as well. And they can be designed to be open. They can also be designed to be closed, right? If you build an application and you have a bunch of users, you could restrict the transfer of that stablecoin within that system itself, while still using a blockchain to provide the accountability, immutability, and all of that. So. Um, I think the market decides on all of these things anyway, right? If there's demand for an open system, you'll have open systems. If there's demand for closed systems because of regulatory reasons, um, then they'll also exist. Um, so I never really throw myself into one side of any sort of camp. I sort of try to take everything in and just sort of you know try to work out how many options are there and just let them all sort of work their way through the market.
Yes, that's a sage way. And I saw some literature saying that STAS token protocol is open source and that developers can come and build open source. Is that true?
Yeah, of course. Anyone can just get the SDK and start creating tokens for their applications, whether that be closed, like a closed system where you might have, for example, you might have a ticket company that is selling tickets to events, and you might want to have them on the blockchain because of, counterfeit reasons, transparency reasons, all of that. And or you might want a system where you allow people to send NFTs from your platform to other platforms. Um, and it really comes down to people's imagination in the end, as I mentioned. We, we
Hmm.
s- the main difference with BSV in particular compared to, say, other blockchains is that you have the scalability, which means that you have the extremely cheap fees for transactions, which then opens up a lot more use cases. The issue with other blockchains and high fees, or even blockchains that have currently maybe low fees, is that if there is a fee market there, that eventually your business model might be broken. And maybe it won't, but the risk is that if you build something on another blockchain that does not scale, and then in the future it does get quite busy on that blockchain and the fees start going higher, you risk then breaking your business model because the fees might not, the cost of the fees might tap into what you think was your profit margins, and all of a sudden it's all gone. So on BSV, it's different. Obviously, you've got cheap fees, so creating tokens for a lot of use cases is an economical choice.
Mhm.
and it makes it worthwhile.
Right. And we spoke with Luke Roanas of One Sat Ordinals a few
Yeah,
weeks
yeah.
ago, and that was super exciting. So, have you spoken with him about collaborating on uh, tokens and tokenization?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've had a few calls with Luke in the past. He's a great guy. He's really skilled, and they do some great stuff with ordinals. Really creative with smart contracts and things like that with the ordinals. Uh, so I've had some good conversations, and we did actually talk about ways of integrating STAS with ordinals at one stage, where you could actually have an ordinal that was a STAS token. Unfortunately, there was a couple of things that we discussed that would not quite work. Specifically, using custom smart contracts on top of STAS tokens does not generally work because STAS tokens, as I mentioned before, have set functions you can do. Um,
Templates.
so yeah, so if you could still do like atomic swaps, you can do other things, but if you're wanting to do something that's outside of the scope of the stars token template itself, you wouldn't be able to do that. However, that doesn't mean that it can't be done with stars tokens. It just means that it would require a different template to integrate that functionality,
Hmm.
and then you'll be able to do similar things as what you can do with ordinals.
Yes, well, day by day, who knows what the future holds? But it's good to think like that about, they say, co-opetition. There's ways we can collaborate and there's ways that we can compete. And in
Yeah,
all
yeah,
things, let's always get better. Let's have that incentive to thrive and grow.
yeah.
So
Look,
that is super cool.
I mean, with tokens on BSV, there's sometimes been some infighting about protocols, but in my opinion, it should just be people should just create. That is what it's all about. You don't it doesn't matter what token protocol you're using, just start creating. And then if another token protocol fits your needs more than another because of what you've created, then you just go down a different path. So um, I'm all for different ideas all the time.
Mhm.
And that is the key. It's just being creative as possible and finding what fits your needs.
Yes, I love that. Creativity, human ingenuity. And where can people go to get involved and start being creative on the STOS token protocol today? Do you have a Discord? Is there some place for developers to go? And furthermore, what kind of developers would be the most productive there? Do they have to know certain languages or technology? Please give us, spill the tea on that, Kane.
Yeah. There is in the Discord for the Bitcoin Association, there is a stars channel. I'm in there occasionally answering, if it needs to answer questions specifically related to some of the things that I've created in regards to the SDK in particular. But for developers, I think mostly it comes down to being, the application developers who want to build something that they feel will bring some value to the marketplace. And your general stack, the libraries are all built in mostly JavaScript and TypeScript. So most developers I know that use it, they've got experience in JavaScript and Node.js setup, and then potentially using databases to provide token information for users. Um, so when I think about people trying to build with stars tokens, the easiest way and my approach would be define what you want to create and then pick a token template that would cover your needs. So whether that means you need to append additional data to the token, or if you just require the token to be able to be transferred or atomic swapped, you can pick from the templates. Um, and from there, it's basically, people have wallets, then they can transfer the ownership of those tokens. You can create marketplaces. which is what a lot of wallets these days you see is you see people creating token protocols in their application. They have marketplaces they can transfer these things around, and but the underlying use case is where that's where you have to add the creativity. Um, so what is it going to be? What makes it different from others? Is it going to be profitable? And is it going to be used? Is it a useful app? Is it more of a community type application? Is it more of a business type application? And that's what it all comes down to is really fine tuning your ideas and then picking what you need to build. But for integrating stars tokens, I find it quite easy in particular, maybe because I've worked with it for so long, but I try to make the SDK that is available easy to use. So it generally works very similar to the normal BSV library in terms of building transactions and and also signing transactions and these types of things. So yeah, I mean, it's any developer that has experience in building applications should be able to understand how to transfer tokens, how to create tokens, how to sign transactions, and that's all you really need to know in terms of um, you know being able to integrate these things into your application.
Beautiful. Before, I remember seeing people creating tokens on a wallet called RelayX, and they were making a kind of, uh, you know, where people were just buying and trading and saying, "Hey, this is going to go up and buy this." So, how is it different with what the people are doing with STAS token? If they make a token protocol, are they looking to just flip pancakes to make some money, or are they doing something productive with it, or both?
Well, some of the companies they're building I would say real products and services, but then others do want to just build something that is more community based or in the collectible sort of sphere. And I've got nothing against the collectible type model. I do think it can be a little bit. Um, there's a lot of greed involved in these type of setups, right? People are building things with the purpose of just selling them so they can dump it on someone else later. Um, but when you think about scarcity and building brands like Pokemon cards, these type of things, they could exist on the blockchain as a brand, and you could build a brand over many years, and it could become very popular, right? It doesn't mean that it's a sort of flipping for money if you're building something in that regard. Um, and I guess it comes down to the person who's building it. What is their real plan? If they want to build something long term, then I think it's a great idea. I had some ideas on how you could build NFT like a collectibles platform where you gamify the creation process, where people have to actually participate in doing some sort of action, whether on chain or off chain, that calculates into a value that then depicts what the NFT will turn out to be, which then creates some sort of randomness, but also some sort of control on the user side as to the outcome of the events, not just minting something, but something in between just clicking a button to mint. Um, so when we think about more business type models, you've got Senti, they've got the stable coin. I think that is that is easy, self-explanatory one. But then others are building. We have a music art, an early platform that built on stars tokens, and that was using music NFTs. And then you have Soundoshi, they're doing music streaming. So that, and Selectionary, they have their own business model around you know definitions of words. So you can see you can build lots of different things, and like I said, I don't have anything against people building collectible type platforms. I think that's still a great use case. Um, and depending on how long they if they build it one week and they disappear the next, I guess that's obviously very questionable. But if they build something long term, I mean, if you're
Mhm.
building an actual brand, like imagine Pokemon cards, it could very well exist on a blockchain, and it could be something in 10 years' time that everyone is using or buying or just collecting, right? I mean, it just comes down to the individuals who are creating it.
Yes, another sage take here on Explain Like I'm Five from our esteemed guest today, Cain Nussdorfer. Thank you for that, Cain. That's a great point. Collectibles. So that actually, it could be positive, it could be negative. It just depends on each individual situation and use case. So you did mention music art and others that have been using the STAS token protocol, like Slictionary, I think you said, or others. But I see on your presentation, you have on YouTube, the BSV blockchain has this file. It's called Tokens on the BSV blockchain. And here you give a presentation that dives deep into everything about STAS tokens. And the part that I've paused it on is NFT Ana, Digital Asset Marketplace. So it has in the picture something open NFT,
Yes.
OpenFit. So tell us about these two things, please.
Um, yeah, so NFTana, that platform we actually built through Vaionex as an open source marketplace for STARS tokens. And the idea is that you could basically change the entire skin of the platform, but it would provide you with a way to quickly, um, you know, plug and play basically with the STARS tokens. You'd obviously still need to have a backend to run the infrastructure in terms of, um, wallets and, tokens on, in your database to handle the operations of the platform. But having that open source platform gave people a quick way of just getting started and getting going. Um, so yeah, I mean, the what we found is that a lot of the use cases around them were around exchanging tokens for other tokens or tokens for NFTs, or even back to native BSV. That's the reason why we created that platform in the first place. So
And does that have a website? How do people go there to NFT Ana?
yeah, NFTana, that should be still online. On just so
I'm sorry.
nftana.com.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
Dot
still
com.
there?
Oh,
Yes,
yes, I'm here.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
I'm okay, good. I see it. nftana.com.
Yeah, yeah,
NFTANA.com.
that's the one. Yeah.
Cool. Yes, next generation open source NFT exchange marketplace that anyone can contribute to develop or use. So that is very exciting. And I see many beautiful images there. Speaking of images, the STAS token has its own symbol and it looks like three lines with three horizontal with one vertical line through it. So what does this symbolize to you, Cain?
Well, I actually that's part of the STAS token company itself. I actually am not part of the company. I work very closely with the engineers at the company to build the SDK, and then also build wallet integrations, which is what we do through Realizio. The symbol itself, I actually I actually don't really know. Um, it's just part of the SaaS token company, as I mentioned. So yeah,
Yeah, it looks cool. And you, sir, are a part of Vaionex. And
yes, correct.
that is just a beautiful company that gave me my Sato Learn deck. This is such a wonderful resource. I have all the whole deck of cards to learn more about this industry. And what is your experience working with Vaionex? Because you're in many fields. You go into artificial intelligence and beyond. So, how do you feel working with this wonderful team?
Well, it's been a great journey. Been with them for 3.5 years, and we've built a what I think is a great platform. We've had many clients along the years. Another client that we have currently is Little Bit, which is it's a sports betting and gaming platform where you can, and also has prediction markets, which is it's quite an active platform. But it's been great to work with a lot of different developers over that time. Then also working with a lot of different clients with the specific needs. I worked very closely with Senti to help build the the infrastructure to cover their use case, which then became integral to our backend services as well. So overall, I think working at Vinex has taught me something about myself in terms of how much I actually love problem solving for one, and also allowing me to be a bit creative with how we approach certain problems, such as with wallets and how to integrate those things. So yeah, it's been great. I do work a little bit with artificial intelligence things, but it's more just as part of integrations with other platforms, which may or may not also have blockchain integrated to it as well. But as artificial intelligence is more the buzzword these days, where everyone's sort of getting involved, and it's actually a very good tool these days for developing because it can really speed up the process to build applications. Um, and even people these days that don't have a lot of developer skills can quickly pick up the skills using AI services like ChatGPT or Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is actually quite good these days. So um, yeah, I mean it's and the journey's still going, I guess. So excited to dive in more to uh, different types of wallet integrations. I've also been talking with the Bitcoin Association about some ideas about different wallets and things for the future. So that includes a Terranode type wallet potentially. And yeah, I mean, the journey, it never stops, right? You always keep learning along the way.
Exactly, we do. And how do you think Terranode and the Chronicle upgrade will impact your work that you're doing with the STAS token protocol?
Um, I think mostly it will revolve around wallets and SPV, which is the simple payment verification. Um, what we sort of need to do, in the BSV space is not so much rely on the blockchain as much for the source of truth, and we need to be able to handle the truth or handle a subset of the blockchain ourselves within our applications. And what that means is that um, you know, we don't want to ask the blockchain questions all the time, which is sort of the way things were built, maybe the last few years in particular, where, if you need to, what they call resync with the blockchain to find out what you have in your wallet, um, once you're running at 1 million transactions per second, those type of services, they don't become as reliable, and also your application starts to become quite independent on third parties. So for stars tokens, I guess along with any tokens, having the SPV proof, so the proof of where the transaction came from in the past, is what will make wallets more reliable down the track. So it's more to do with wallet integrations and wallet infrastructure design in the future. I think that's the key parts.
Ah, yes, we did have Degan or Darren on several weeks ago to talk about the SPV wallet and how that will enable so many use cases. So then you're
Yes.
saying that you too, with the STAS token protocol, SDK, and wallet integration services, will make use of SPV wallets as well?
Yeah, so SPV really what we're trying to do is just track UTXOs. So that could be a token, could be just regular BSV, and I guess it doesn't. The SPV doesn't really care about those things. It's sort of on another layer. So um, yeah, we already have the existing STAS setup that we have that will work well with it. But it's just designing the infrastructure for the wallets and also designing it in a way that it's future proof. We don't want to be building things that after a bit of time it needs to be replaced again, and that is where the creative thinking has to come in, and collaborative thinking actually is a good way to do it, to come up with get all the ideas together and come up with the most robust solution.
See around corners. That's right. And you mentioned smart contracts, that within the template, it is a smart contract on the STAS token protocol.
Yep.
So, is that a specific type of smart contract? Is that one that you have set up the framework for? And does this at all relate to script?
Um, no, it doesn't relate to script. Stars tokens, one of the, I'll say, drawbacks is that it doesn't integrate with other smart contracts outside of the script itself. So stars tokens are smart contracts, but they're built in a way that all the functionality is already predefined. So that means you cannot add more functionality to that token. It is locked. The token is locked inside that script. You can what they call redeem the token, which means that you destroy the token and you get back the satoshis that were inside that token. Um, but for script, it's more for open smart contracts, which actually works quite well with ordinals. And as I mentioned about token protocols, it really comes down to what you're building and what you require from the token. And if you require specific custom smart contracts that are not part of any of the Stars token templates, then you would probably use an ordinal or similar type token protocol to build. But if on the Stars token website, you can see all the properties of each token script and what each token can do. And if it ticks all of the boxes you need for your application, then it fits the mold, right? So, um, and which is why I always talk about flexibility. You know, it's just a matter of choice, in the end, which one you want to pick and if it fits what you need to do.
Very good. So, we have a lot of opportunity, a lot of options to choose from as we build businesses on Bitcoin SV.
Yeah.
Is definitely a positive. Yes. And Cain, thank you so much for your time today. We are coming to the top of the hour now. So I wonder, what would you like to share with the audience? Any tips or advice on next steps and a call to action?
Um, I guess maybe for developers that are on the sidelines that are not sure, my advice is to just jump in and have a go. The best thing you can do is fail fast, right? Fail forward fast. That's how I learned a lot of things over the last few years, is that the quicker you can fail is the quicker you can iterate and try again, and your progress speeds up quite fast at that point. And also, the other thing is that when you hit roadblocks or when you hit knowledge blocks where you actually get completely lost on things, where that will happen along the way. My suggestion is to think about those times, because that is actually when you're doing the deep learning, right? When things become really hard. Um,
Ah, yes. Think about those. I don't hear you anymore. Okay.
sorry.
Okay. I can hear you again. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Sorry. Go ahead. Could you say that again, please? Just the last two sentences.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought then. So yeah, when you hit a roadblock, like when something becomes very hard to understand, at those times is always when you're doing the deepest learning and when you get the most out of it. So while sometimes you look at something and it looks very hard, maybe to begin with, my suggestion is to just walk away from that for a little bit, get back to it a bit later, and never be afraid to ask for some advice. Or if you get stuck on something, there's always some help in the Discord or in the community. You can ask questions to get ahead. But if you're looking to build applications, the sooner the better. I mean, that's my suggestion, is just to get into it, have a go.
Yeah, that is true. Very good inspiration as well to say, tally ho, let's go onwards. Because, like you say, you're just continuously learning and, step back and then jump back into it with fresh thoughts, fresh
Yeah.
mind. So thank you for that, all the words of wisdom that you've shared today. And I know that Tokenized is a company that's in Australia and you're in Australia. So are you going to have a great symposium on tokenized companies there anytime soon? Or have you all had some hackathons or meetups already together in the land down under?
Actually, one of my introductions to BSV was at the start of 2019, and I actually went to Brisbane to the BSV meetup back in November 2019, and I met um, some of the tokenized team at that point and learned about their product back then. So, I mean, tokenized have been around for a long time, and they have a unique product as well, which is designed around um, more as like a third-party service to handle your token sort of your token information. So it's not really held sort of on the blockchain, but they run the token logic on their side of the on their back end. However, they still run ownership on the blockchain. It's a very unique proposition as well. And as I mentioned, along with all token protocols, it just comes down to what's the best fit, right? And I always say, look at all the options. I mean, uh, it, that's what it's all about. It's just you think of an idea, you have to work out what is best for you. And there's plenty of options out there. So there's no excuse, I guess, for not finding something that will fit what you need.
Yeah, that's exciting. So I guess they're more of a tokenization as a service
Yes,
where entities could go and say, hey, we want to do this, and they could just make it happen or at least set them up for success. And that is fabulous. Well, Cain, I'm so thrilled to be with you virtually. It was lovely meeting you in person back in the day, a year ago at the London Blockchain
yes.
Conference. And I hope to meet you again soon in person and in further conversations.
No, fantastic. Thanks so much, Rory. It's great to have a conversation.
Yes, thank you. And everyone listening, you can go to follow Cain on LinkedIn as well as on X or Twitter, what have you. So I will go ahead and share with you all some exciting news of things to follow and learn from here. We have some announcements for your benefit. So, the first one you can see on the link to this Twitter X space, there will be these posts. What is Vaionex AI Forge? Learn more from Nathan Cropper, Head of Business Development at Vaionex. Then, Vaionex is developing Tegment, set to revolutionize gaming by integrating with popular titles like Counter Strike, Valorant, Call of Duty, and Fortnite. Learn more from Adam Bishop, Chief Marketing Officer at Vaionex.
Actually, on that one,
Also,
Rory.
oh yeah,
Sorry, I'll just interrupt you
uh-huh.
just momentarily.
Yeah,
So,
please, yeah.
Techment is actually rebranded now. So that's rebranded to tournaments.com, which is quite a good brand. It's an esports platform. and we look to integrate BSV as a digital assets part of that platform in the future. But if anyone's interested, we're actually doing now cash prizes through the platform. You can play a couple of different games at the moment, and things are starting to ramp up a little bit. So yeah, I'm actually very excited to hear some feedback about the platform if anyone is interested in checking it out.
Oh, super cool. So that's what,
Tournaments, yeah,
tournament.com?
tournaments with an S, tournaments.com. Yep.
Okay. Very good. Tournaments.com. And that brings me back to what you had mentioned earlier about gamification. And you had given an example that sounded like Mad Libs, those games we used to play as kids, where you fill in the adjective or adverb and it ends up making a funny story. So it's kind of a playful gamification. So I love that. And that is something of passion to you, Kane?
Um, I think gaming with blockchain is one thing in particular. It's an easy way to get started into building things. Um, People like to be entertained. So if you can
Right.
somehow wrap that into a blockchain logic, whether it's NFT creation or if it's micropayments and these type of things, um, yeah, and also I think some of the untapped areas in development is integrating what I would call proof of fairness with certain types of gaming, which maybe sounds like sort of gambling type games, but um, if you're using random number generators, for example, how do you truly know it's random? But one of the best
Mm,
things about
the lottery.
yeah, well, one of the best things about using BSV blockchain for building apps is that you can tie transaction IDs to random number outputs. So you can provide them as an argument to a function, which means that you can later prove that that number was derived from a transaction ID that the user created, which allows you to provide some sort of
Oh.
provable fairness around what is happening within your application. Um, so using games along those lines, I think it's actually a really cool way to get people interested into either micropayments or creating some sort of NFT type platform where you're adding some sort of gamification. And as you know, there's already that game, quite a well built game, Crypto Fights. They use basically random number generators for the dice rolls for the game. So you're rolling dice for attack scores and things like that. And even though it's a lot of random numbers, there is some sort of strategy in place in those games where you have to um, you have to choose your items, you have to choose your players, and that adds to the entertainment of the game. But my point was that doing the random numbers, even though the game itself is obviously not a casino, right? We're not talking about building something that's just for gambling. It's an actual game, but it's based on random number generators. Having that combination of strategy and random number generators can build so many different types of games. And small little entertainment games is very simple to make and could potentially work well with blockchain assets or things like that. So
Yes, I love that. Chance. The element of chance in any game. You have the strategy and, like you say, the random number generators that are provably random,
yeah, correct.
secured on the blockchain. That is super cool. And yeah, I know it would be fun to create more games using these tools as well. Is that something like a game designer could do? Is to use STAS token?
Oh, definitely. If you've got a brand of a type of NFT collection you want to create, an example could be that people pay a small payment in BSV and then they play a small game based on strategy and chance. And at the end of the game, based on the results of that, you mint a NFT, right? So that NFT could be any brand you can think of. So, what's a popular game like Angry Birds is a very popular mobile game, but imagine you build your own brand You could create these items. You could have limited edition. You could have different versions. There's just so much you could really do. And I don't think it has to be completely limited to on-chain, which is my point about having provable fairness. If people can, get a result from a game, and then you could provably fair that um, you know, all the actions in that game were not predicted, not able to be pre-predicted. That means it's fair. That means everyone can have a good time, and uh, you don't have to worry about if someone got an advantage over you, right? So
Yeah, you can trust the process
exactly, yeah.
and have fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, that's the best part about micropayments is that you can have fun for cheap, right? It's not like other blockchains where if you play a game to mint an NFT, it might cost you $50, right? Because the transaction fees are too high. But there's a lot of money to risk just to play a little fun game. On BSV, you could
Mm.
do it for like a tenth of a cent, right? And then the platform could still make a profit on at a tenth of a cent per play, right? So that's how cheap it is on the BSV blockchain. So and I wouldn't even charge a tenth of a cent. Like, people would be happy to pay 1 cent just to play a little game and get an NFT at the end of the game. I think why not? It's 1 cent.
Yeah.
No one really cares. But you might score really well on the game, for example, and you could say that if your score is between X and Z, or X and Y, or you could say that means a certain level of NFT. You could have different tiers. It's really just comes down to creativity, how you want to design it. But as I mentioned, if you're doing a game that's based on strategy and chance, there's no advantage to I guess other players that have played previously so much, maybe not as much because you've got just enough chance as someone else maybe of getting a very high score just based on your strategy that you impose on the game. And yeah, I think it could be a very entertaining way to build an application. And if you're charging, like I say, if you're charging 1 cent per play, people are happy to pay that small amount of money, but the cost to actually create the NFT is probably closer to a hundredth of a cent. So, you can imagine that the profit margins are quite high. You'd obviously need a lot of volume to make a good, decent amount of money, but I mean, it's a starting point. It's a small starting point. And I actually listened to this podcast the other day. Actually, no, it wasn't a podcast. It was a book. It was actually a Blinkist book. I'm not sure if you heard of Blinkist, but it's like these book summaries, and they talked about the creators of TikTok and how they created it and how many things they built before they actually created TikTok. And it's just absolutely amazing the story that they did, the story that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually one of um, the main things for TikTok was that they built this very unique matching algorithm, which was proprietary. And that was what eventually was used for TikTok and what gave them a massive edge, along with also integrating a lot of features that other platforms, other competing platforms that were actually very popular at the time, they actually just utilized some of the things that they were doing, but then using their specialized matching engine gave them a huge edge. And yeah, TikTok's a huge company now, but yeah,
Right.
it was actually quite a good insight.
Yeah, and it shows how things work out.
Yeah.
They keep going. They're saying, "Oh, this didn't work, that didn't work," and then
Yeah,
eureka!
exactly.
And
Yeah. No, you'll be surprised. It's
yeah,
got it's all got to start somewhere, right? I mean, Rome wasn't built in a
exactly.
day, and you'll be surprised. Maybe a small idea today, after maybe 50 iterations over time, becomes something huge. But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
Um, and if you're passionate, that's the thing. I think it always comes down to passion. I think mostly everybody is creative in one way or another. I think people also get a little bit overwhelmed with technology sometimes, and they feel a bit just feel like they can't do certain things. But as I said always suggest is just if you get stuck on something, just leave it for a little bit, get onto something else, and then go back to it later. And then slowly you'll start to work things out, and then you can always ask for help to get that little bit further ahead. Yeah, so
Yes, and if anyone is stumped and looking for help, we can all go to the BSV Discord. That is Bitcoin SV Discord. And there, I believe you said there was a room, or just in general, people in the general discussion, they can post a question to STAS token. Is that right,
there is a
Kane?
STAS channel. There's channels for a lot of the infrastructure around BSV as well. If you're looking for information on ordinals in particular, there's actually an ordinals Discord that I don't have the name of it. I think it's
Yes.
once that
Once that order.
yeah once that ordinals Discord. So you can get a lot. There's a lot of activity there to get support for those tokens there too. But as I mentioned, there's lots of support. So don't ever feel like it's too hard. I think everyone can just have a go and just enjoy the journey, right?
Right. Lovely. Well, thank you, Kane. Thank you again. And yes, everyone listening, get involved. Let's play. Let's all play together. And I will continue to tell you about these wonderful announcements that we have for you today. Remember to go to tournaments.com and join the community on Discord. Connect with fellow enthusiasts, stay updated on the latest news, and dive deep into the blockchain discussion. Go to BSV Discord. Then there's insightful discussion about STAS token on BSV blockchain featured today on our BSV ELI5 Xspace. Connect with our guest, Cain Nussdorfer from Vaionex on X. His handle is at Cain_dev. That's CAIN_DEV. And our BSV ELI5 host. That's me, Rory, at RBZ Beijing. In this article, learn how Terranode delivers blockchain scaling for enterprise use. Then grab a copy of our ebook about the BSV blockchain and its enterprise cybersecurity framework. You can download it here on the link below this Xspace. In the spotlight, watch Nathan Cropper, Head of Business Development at Vaionex, discuss Vaionex's AI Forge incubator program with cutting-edge AI technology and expert guidance. So those are announcements for you today. And we would just love to thank again Cain, the guest of today. Looking forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thank you, Rory.
And to all of our guests, oh, it's my pleasure. Bravo. And just want to give a shout out. We see Jack Pitts, Game Tight, Smile Z, Emmanuel, and many other friends here. Crypto Week, all here tuning into the chat. So we love you and we look forward to being with you again soon. Cheers, y'all. Goodbye.
Thank you.